I'm John Trischler with SPVparts.com, and today we are going to install the new SRL Behind the Grille Light Bar Kit from SPV Parts on the 2017 through 2020 Ford F-150 Raptor. So the first thing we need to do is remove the grille, and we do have a couple pieces off of that already. I'm going to point to those here real fast. So these are our trim pieces that come off around the headlight, and we've already removed these because when we did the prototype, I thought rather than take this off again, I would just leave these off. I'm going to flash back here real quick to a part of another video that shows how to remove these. And so let's go ahead and get started. So first, we are going to need a little retainer clip removal tool, all right, or a little pry tool. And you'll see these clips here on the top. And this is the same as the one that would be on top of the little trim panel there. So you've got one here, or along the back side, the front side. You want to make sure you remove them all. And there's one over here. So you want to make sure you remove them all. There's a little groove on one side of this, and you'll put your little tool under there, and you can work this under, and you can lift it up. Now you don't need to lift it all the way up. That little recessed piece pops out just like that. So you're going to remove all of these. So now if we've got these all removed, this should lift right off of here. Just like so. And that is our top panel. And we'll just put that aside. All right, so the next thing you need to do is remove this little trim push pin from the top. We can use a little pry removal tool here, and that pops out. That frees up the top here so we can pull the rest of this panel out. You'll see there's a little bolt here, and then there's another one right up here. These are the only two we really need to remove. All right, the bolt size you need for that is a 7mm. So now that we've got those two bolts out of there, that frees this up so we can pull on it and pull the clips out. So you want to gently pull this out. Now, what I would recommend, and I've got right here, is a small little screwdriver. Here's the front side of the flare. So now as I pull this out gently, you don't want to chip the edges or the paint or anything like that, but as I pull this out, you should see right in here, there's a yellow, like a little yellow clip. And I don't know if you can see that on the, here, I'll move this aside. Right back there, do you see it? All right, so this little yellow clip, it has these little prongs. Use this little screwdriver to just pop these prongs out of that hole. Do you see what I'm talking about right here? And that allows you to get in there without scratching your paint or anything like that. That pulls that clip loose, and there's another one up here. All right, so here's our second clip. Did the same thing. Again, just gently get your little screwdriver in there where you can just push these aside so that'll pop out. So now you've got this popped aside, which you want. So, get it to pull the clip out of the hole so that, it stays away from this bottom piece. You want to keep that away from there so you can have room to work on this without that popping back in place. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is we want to pop this out, its clips, as you can see. Just give it a little pull here on the side. You're not going to hurt anything. Don't overdo it, obviously, but you're going to pull this out of the clips on this side first, and then you're going to work it around. Now I've already got this brace in here too, so obviously I need to be careful that I don't pull on that and scar up my front piece, but you won't have to worry about that. And now we can pull on this, and then that last clip is going to pop out, which is right here. So the back of our panel is going to look like this. You see you've got these little plastic clips here. Now you want to inspect this before you put it down just to make sure you've got them all accounted for. In case one slipped off, you can get a hold of that, put it back on your panel so it's ready to install when you're done. The next thing we're going to need to do is remove these bolts on each side of the lower part of the grille. Can you see those? Right there, and again right here. And that's an 8mm bolt. If you have a ratchet, that's fine, or an impact drill, that's fine as well. And you can take those right off, just like that. All right, so on our top side, we've got a 13 millimeter bolt. We've got 4 of them right across the top side of the grill. So we're going to remove those 4. And we've got that. All right, so now our grill should be loose for the most part. We lift up on it, it's going to come loose, but we need to unplug some of the electrical wiring. So you're going to notice these plugs right here on top. You're going to push these little clips. So here's one. You push the clip and you lift up on it. All right. And the same thing for this one. Push the clip and you're going to pull the plug out. That's going to release that. And then these little push retainer clips as well right here. You're going to get your pry removal tool and you're going to put it under here and you should be able to pop that up real easy. It's just got little ribs on it just like that. Same thing for this little one. Lift right up. And then the last little piece down in here, this is the only one you really have to be careful with. This has, I don't know if you can see it, you see the little slit right there, the little slit around here. This little retainer, you want to push back on it, but if you're not careful, you'll pop the whole sleeve off. You want to just push it back enough. You can use your fingers. Probably a good idea to use your fingers right rather than tool anyway, because otherwise you'll pop it off and lose it and then you'll have a hard time trying to find it. But if you push that back just a little bit, it's kind of like a little spring clip where it's just back enough, then you can pull that out. And so that little clip, when it slides over top like a C, it grips this and keeps it from coming out. So once you've got that out, you've got that stuff loose, the last thing you have are a couple of push pins with some trim along the sides. So you'll get your trim tool again, and you'll go right alongside here. Here's one. We've already got that loose from the last time. There's another one right here, and then there's one right here. That's the same on both sides. So you'll pop those loose. And we've got them loose from the last time, so we're good to go. So that's it. It's that simple to take this grill out. So now you're just going to lift up on it, just like this. And your wiring, if it's in the way, move it out of the way. Just lift up on it, and again, that whole thing lifts right out. That simple. Then you're going to want to take that and we're going to lay it down on a table so that it's nice and smooth, so there's nothing going to scratch it. We put a blanket down to protect it. All right, so now we need to remove a few bolts here from the back side of the grill so we can install our brackets. Real simple. All right, so here's one here. There's one on the inside up here on the top. All right, then down here, the same thing on the opposite end. And again up here on the top. Right here in the very center. And then there are these little wing screws that can also be undone either by your fingers or a little socket as well. So we're going to take those out real fast. I would not recommend any power tools for these because they're just screwed onto this plastic tab and you can break that off real easy. You can for these if you want to, just like so. All right. And those are a 10 millimeter. And in the middle here, we should be back down to an 8 millimeter again. You take that out, just make sure you put your bolts and screws aside so you don't lose them. All right, and the last thing, we can do these 10 millimeter ones here. Don't be intimidated, it's actually a very, very easy removal with this grill. It's really not difficult at all. As you can see, hopefully this has made it look easy. And from there, it's just a matter of lifting up your grill. Now, you're gonna wanna make sure, obviously, that you got all your bolts loose. If not, they're gonna get caught, and then you're gonna have to just go back after them again. And one more thing here, it looks like we missed one little tab. Even though this plug doesn't actually get removed from the other side, this does snap here on the inside of this other half of the grill. So pop that loose so that you don't have anything attached to that. The last thing you're going to have are these 4 tabs here at the top. Again, use that trim removal tool, and you're just going to lift up on those like so. And the last one, and now this should very, very easily come apart. Last thing we have real quick, just slide this little rubber hose out of this little groove to completely separate the two. All right, so here's our front grill, and we are going to pretty much set that aside for the time being. Now you're going to notice, I want to point this out, I didn't tighten these down very tight because I knew I was taking it off again, but you're probably going to run into one little thing that you're going to have to pay a little bit of attention to. This is how they're supposed to be, these little studs that go through those holes where we remove those bolts, okay? This is how they're supposed to be. They screw into these little plastic retainer clips. And, well, I've already got them snapped in there. I'll show you this other one because one of them did that anyway. So they're going to slide into those just like that when we take that apart. More than likely, and this happens on almost all of our Raptors, when you remove these, again, not a big deal, is that the threads of that stud are going to come out of the plastic clip, just like this, okay? So here's the other side of that plastic clip, and these threads are supposed to go in here, and that slides in that little slot. If that happens, and it's probably going to happen almost every single time, you very simply are going to get a pair of vice grips like this. You want to make sure you do not grip down on the threads. You will ruin it if you do that. But you want to grip down here on the outside edge, just like that, and remove the other side of the bolt, just like so. To take that loose, once you do that, that's going to slide out, and you're going to be able to put that back in the retaining plastic clip by just screwing it back in with those threads. And if it's too tight, you can always grab a hold of your vice grip there, and you can hold on to it while you turn it. But that's how it should look. And then you're going to be able to slide that back in here just like it's supposed to be, just like these others, so it's ready for reinstallation. So in your kit, you're going to have these 4 brackets, you're going to have a set of bolts, and we're going to have a wire harness. So we tried to make this easy on you, so we gave you an arrow, so you know that this is going to the front of the truck. Okay, so you're going to take one of these plates on each side with the arrow facing forward. Now, if you got turned around and you don't know which direction is the front of the truck, just remember that the shutters are on the back side, just like this, and this little module is also on the back side. So this opening is on the back side. So this is the front. You're going to notice that that's going to lay right over top of these holes. So now we're going to be able to take our brackets and we're going to be able to put those underneath and sandwich those in for our light bar, just like so. You're going to take your carriage bolt here on the top on one and on the other, just like this. All right, so here is how you tell which side is which, because these are unique for which side. The short end here, the short end goes to the inside, all right, just like so. All right, so we're going to put that there, and we're going to get started with our bolts and our washers. These are lock nuts, so you don't need a lock washer, you just need the small round washer. And we'll get that started to get that in the initial placement. Same thing with the other. These active shutters can be a little bit of a pain to work around, but it's usually not too hard. Okay. And again, we've got our prototypes here on our light bar, so you can see the same thing, how those are going to go positioned in there, and which end and which side goes on which. All right, so now we'll do our other side. And these look the same, but again, you flip them in the other direction. So the same thing on the other side. We're going to get that started. Lay that out. It's going to follow the edge of that. So now we want to take and install our light bar. So there's going to be one of these for each end. It's going to go here in the center. That's what's going to hold these little screws. These are your little screws that go in the end. Now here's how you tell which side is which. Your wire harness should go to the right, because that's where your battery is going to be located. Okay, because you want to go that direction. So that harness should go to the right. Okay, and now we're going to start on the left side here. Or, I'm sorry, my right side, depends on which direction you're facing. We're going to start over here on the driver's side, because this is where we have our first piece here. So you're going to put this on the inside here of our bracket, and we're going to start our screw through that hole. And you can certainly do this backwards. If you'd rather put this bracket on the light first, you can, and then put the brackets onto the grill. You can do that as well. Either way is fine. I just wanted to, for the video, to show you how they assembled, and if the light's on there, it's a little difficult to see that. But again, it may be a little quicker if you just go the other direction, where you attach these brackets to the light first, and then you can put your bolts through. But now we've got these started. So we're going to take our little Allen key, because it's a little easier to get in there and just spin these and tighten those down. So once you get it all set up and done and even, then you'll tighten this up the rest of the way. Then you can swivel this so that it's straight, because you want it to be facing straight forward. So we'll do the final tightening on these screws once we're all done. All right, so we got that in place. Space your bolts out here on this so that they're even. And now let's look at the light bar itself. Let's make sure we've got that in the center. All right, so let's see here. What's the best way to tell? For me, I look at this groove right in here, and I can look at that edge, and the same thing over here, and if the spacing between those is about the same, and it is, then we should be pretty much center. Now we've got our bolts pushed out here so that they're more stable, because there's room to slide them. You don't want them next to each other. You want to get them spaced out so that there's more stability. So again, same thing here, space those bolts out so there's more stability. Get your brackets spaced out. You got about the same amount of room on each end, just like this. So now we can tighten these the rest of the way, make this final adjustment to make sure this is straight, and then run our wire, put our grill back together, and then we should be all set. All right, so this is important, because you see this wire comes out of the backside of the light. You can't have this droop down here like this. It'll get caught in these shutters when they open and close, all right? So you need to pull this back, just like so, and you want to take, and you'll see that that will pull up tight, so that's going to clear that. That's important. You're going to take a zip tie, and we've created a slot here for you for that zip tie, okay? So you're going to go on the back side here, just like this. All right, so push that through here, and you're going to take that around your wire, and before you tighten that down all the way, you're going to want to make sure you pull up on that so that it's nice and tight. So we'll get it almost all the way down. I'm going to pull this back. Again, make sure that's pulled up against there so that's not going to get caught in those shutters. That's going to be an important thing, just like that. And then once you get that tight, and you can see that's out of the way there, you're going to be all set. Now you can clip that off. All right, now there's several different places you can take this out of. I'm going to take it out of this section right here. I think it's probably going to be the best, the easiest to get to. Nice big hole for that plug. We'll take that up and out of here, just like this, and then we'll be able to run it alongside in the grill area here as well. So just again, to keep that up and out of the way, I'm going to take another zip tie. And again, make sure you get that up out of there so that it's not going to interfere with those active shutters at all. All right, so now we're ready to put the grills back together. So we've got our front grill, we've got that laying flat because it's easiest to do it this way since your bolts are on this side. And we're going to just line everything up, line up all the holes so that our bolts go through the holes again. Wires get in the way, just move them out of the way. And everything should lay right back down where you want it. Before we push this all the way together, again, you want to look for these things like our little rubber hose here so we can slide that into that groove because we popped it out. You're going to want to look for this plug that, remember, we pulled out of this piece of the grill here. You don't want to get that caught up in under there. So we've got that moved up out of the way there. Got that pushed back in. Now we should be all set to put the bolts back in and reassemble this grill. A little screwdriver here, that'll be handy because, again, you can get a feel for how tight to make those with either a socket or something like this, because again, they are going into those plastic sleeves. All right, so we got those done. Now we should be able to put our center bolt in. The hard part is getting that lined up because it is a little bit deep in there. All right, we got it. Just like so. We missed our little push pins on the top. So let's go ahead and put those back in. All right, so we're ready to put this grill back in here. So you want to make sure that these cords are lifted up out of the way before you do. And you can lift this up in here again, and this will fit right in here. It'll just sit right on top of there. You have to pull these little rubber grommets out of the way on each side so that that'll fit back in there okay. And make sure that that's where we want it to be, that it kind of sits in a groove. And it's there, so unless I lift up on it again, it's not going to come forward. So now we're ready to go ahead and put everything back together. All right, so I think the best place to run our wire is going to be to come up and out this groove right back here. And the reason I say that is because our rubber panel is going to sit over top of this, and this drops down just a little bit, just like that. Before we put this in here, we'll be able to take our plug and run it through the back side here of this, and then we can run it in behind the headlight. The easiest thing, I think, to be able to pull this cord through here from behind the headlight, can you see down in here, is to take our other end of the harness here that's supplied and push that through from the back side, because if we can pull that through, we can plug it in and then pull them all through. So once we got that in, if you can't quite reach it, you can get a little tool, get a coat hanger, something that you can kind of hook that with and bring it toward you, just like this. Get it out of the way. And did you see what I did right there? So now, look at this, behind our headlight. So that's nice and clean. You can tuck in behind there. So now I can take our cord, plug the two in together, and we should be able to just go ahead and pull that carefully the rest of the way. behind that headlight. Just like so. If it gets caught, just wiggle it a little until you can get a hold of it. And there we go, we've got a hold of it now. And so there's the other end. So I like this, I think it's a nice clean run. Get this behind here. We can push our tabs in. This runs in behind our headlight. We can push the rest of our push pins in. All right, so that is secure now. You don't want to forget about the 8mm bolts that go in here. So get that lined up. And then we'll go ahead and put our trim panel back on top. And we're going to make sure that that wire sits out of the way and everything sits flush like it's supposed to. And so now we have everything put back together except our sides. You want to start here on the inside to snap your panel back on. We've got our other bracket on here too for our bumper light bar, so I just put that on real quick too. But you'll start here, that'll click back in place. Get this groove inside the headlight again here and push that. Just like that. And then we'll just snap this back in place just like that. And then just press down everywhere. Make sure everything's snapped in place. Just like so. And then last, you can line this back up and press these back into those sockets. And then we're going to take our 2 bolts that go on the inside of the fender and tighten those up. And then we should be done with that, other than the one little push clip right here on top. All right, so now we've got everything snapped back together. Everything is assembled. We've got our grill on, we've got our trim panels on, and we've got our last screws in our fender flares. And so the last thing we need to do is just make our wire connection, and we should be good to go. So, as you know, we ran our wire back here through behind the headlight. And there's several different places we can run it. We obviously wanted to run it as clean as possible. This one has fog lights. We can run this alongside with that harness here, or we could run it alongside the back side of the battery here. That is up to you. And once you do, wherever you run that, you're going to want to zip tie it along so that it doesn't fall into the engine, into the fan or the belt or anything like that. All right, here at the end, you're going to have 3 wires. You're going to have a black one with a ring connector, and we're going to plug that into our ground here in our fender well here behind this bolt. Or you could also put it under the bolt on the battery if you prefer. You've got the red wire is going to power the light bar itself, and the white wire is for the amber backlight. So depending on if you got the backlight wire kit, which you'll want to refer to that install video separately. If you did, you could connect that to that wire. If not, you can connect it to another switch and control the amber backlight by the switch. The red is the power for the main fog or the main light bar itself. That you're going to want to connect to a switch itself. So you're going to want to choose which switch you want to use, and you will plug that into that. Now you'll notice that this harness, all our new harnesses now come with bullet connectors, and the opposite ends here are with it, so that you can crimp them on to your other wires, like your switch wires and so on. In this case, we've already got those crimped on here because we've done some other lights already. So we don't need this end for this application, but you probably will for yours. In this case, we will want to find our wires, and you're going to want to pick a wire, and you're going to connect your power to that. All right, so now we've made our connections to our switch wire number 1, which, depending on the model year of the Raptor, they're going to be different colors. This one is a 19, it's the green and white. And we've also made our connection to our backlight wire, which we have a pigtail, so we've got several different backlights connected to it for that appearance. So we should be good. Let's go ahead and turn on the truck real quick and see if we've got power. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and turn on the truck and see if we've got our amber backlight. And we should have our amber backlight. So we know that that part's working. And now we're gonna go ahead and flip our switch and we should have a light. All right, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And visit spvparts.com for this light bar kit and any other accessories for your Raptor or other Ford vehicles. We have kits for Jeep and Toyota and Dodge, Ranger, you name it. Light bars, fog lights, bed covers, and so on. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.